Today we're going to learn how to make boots using a Whatted Character push mold number 18. And this mold, which I developed and licensed to Amaco, or American Art Clay, is one of my very favorite molds because it's such a surprise. If you look at my little characters here, they're all wearing boots made with the same mold, but they look so different. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, first we're going to take some cornstarch or cornstarch baby powder, which is what my preference is, and we're going to brush all of the inside surfaces of the mold. Now I've already done that on all of the sides, and then I brushed it all out so you can't see any of it. It's just going to leave a little film. We're going to start with a piece of clay that will fit into the mold freely. And we're going to push it in so it fills up the mold, starting with the toes. Then we're going to bend it softly around the corner and use your fingers or your thumbs to push it up so it is even with the surface, the edges of the mold. And you notice that I'm pushing away from the edges so that nothing runs over. You don't want to have to trim it afterwards. So now it looks like this. We're going to gently pull that out, and we have this part. Now use your fingers to soften up the edges so that they look more rounded. And I'm going to just straighten up the corners a little bit and set that down. And now we'll go to the next piece, which I already have ready. And this piece is the lace. We're going to push this into this little section that's here at the end of the mold. It looks like I got it a little bit full, but that's okay. Take a knife. We're going to trim that off so that it's even with the edges of the mold. And then clean up the edges again, push it back in so it's inside of the mold. Nothing's running over. You don't want to have to trim it. I'll keep repeating that because that's important. Now we can take this piece and you're going to push it onto this little lace piece. And remember, we had already put powder on there to act as a release agent. There we go. There's our lace. We'll set that down. Now we'll take another piece and we'll use this to fill up the sole part of the mold. So push this in. Now if you're doing a lot of these all at one time, you can measure out exactly how much clay you're going to use. But if you're going to do just one, it's easiest just to put the clay in, trim off the extra, clean up the edges, push it in real hard so that you know that that mold is full. Take your boot, push it down on top of the sole, and lift it out. You now have a boot with a sole and a lace. Now you can sort of push the edges together. So now you have a basic little boot. Now what I like to do when I'm going to use it for a boot on a character, which if you look over here at my little Santa Claus, everyday kind of Santa Claus guy, his leg actually fits down into the boot. So how I've done that is I'm taking a dowel, a nice firm sturdy dowel, I'm going to push it down inside of the boot and roll it back and forth on my finger until I get that hole big enough that I will be able to insert the wire that goes into the leg and part of the socks down into that hole. Now another thing you can do to make this look more realistic is to take your needle tool and very carefully sort of indent all of the grooves, like the little holes where the lace would go, and put little holes in there. So it really does look like those lace fit right into those holes. And you can push it along the seam lines too, so it makes it look a little bit more like it's indented. Wherever you want it to look more realistic, just put a little line. Now another thing you can do to make the sole fit a little better against the bottom of the shoe is come in here against the heel and indent the corner. and then sort of push this down so that the edges are all nice and attached, like it really looks like it fits. And then let's add some little stitch marks here along the side of the lace. You can take a sharp needle tool and go dot, drag, dot, drag, dot, drag, dot, drag, dot, drag, all the way up to your little stitch line going. And if you look over here at my friend, if you look at his boots, can you see those? See how he has little stitch marks along there? And also, once this was baked on this character, I antiqued it with a little bit of a darker brown paint so that it stuck in all the little indentations and made it look more realistic. Okay, now we're going to make a fancier boot. But once again, I start with a tube of clay, but notice this one is longer. Push it into the boot, starting with the toe. Bend it around the corner, fill up the heel, just like before. Trim the edges by pushing the clay into the boot so that nothing sticks out beyond, so you have a nice flat bottom. And I have all of this sticking out. Now we're going to pull this out carefully without cracking it. We don't want it to crack the little instep up there. Roll the edges so that the edges don't look square. Pat, 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 pat. Now look at this long version. We're going to leave it like that. Fill up the sole part. There we go. It's a little bit too much. You notice there's some sparkles in this clay. I hope the light's not catching that and making it shoot back at you. I have a little bit of the metallic Fimo soft clays mixed in with this. Push this onto the sole. Make sure it's on there nice and hard. Pull that out. Now it looks like this, just like before. Now we're going to do some magic. We're going to pinch this, stretch it. Pinch it, stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. Take our knife and push right there to make sure it's stuck down to the shoe. Now we're going to pull this out. And I have sort of soft clay that I'm using, but not real soft. Now we're going to stretch out the top and give it a little bit of shape. And we're going to squeeze it right there so it's a skinnier shoe. Now we have this look. Now I can take this and curl this up. And I have this look. Now, if I take this tool and we're going to push a little bit of a hole in there, and we're going to set that down for a minute while we fill up the lace. And you notice I always leave the lace clay in the mold and push the shoe against it rather than take it out and press it on with my fingers. I think I have less chance of distorting the clay that way. Now I can take this with the rod still in it to give it a little bit of a support, push it against there, pull that out. There we go. Now we'll take this out. And here is a fancy little fairy boot. And that's what I've used on this character. See her boot there? The colors of clay that you use for this make a big difference in how it looks. Now once you've finished your boot, if you've done it with polymer clay, you're going to have to bake it. And what I like to do so that these big, long, beautiful boots don't get a flat side is lay it on some fiberfill that is on a baking sheet. And the fiberfill is safe in a 265 to 275 degree oven, and your boot won't get a flat spot. Now, the only one of my published books that shows a boot mold project is this book, Art Faces in Clay, that was done by Design Originals, which I wrote. And this little guy sitting here in front of me with his beautiful rainbow boots is in that book. Hope you enjoy it.